your host, Doreen Steenland, and today we're going to be speaking with Dr. Jaime Pula. Welcome. I love this topic you're bringing to us today. It's the topic of food is mood, how shift workers can keep their energy flowing with proper nutrition, rest, and sleep. Let's talk long hours and shift work, Jaime. We all know that medical professionals work long, late evening, and sometimes overnight hours. For those working these long and difficult hours outside the typical 9 to 5 framework, we know it takes a toll on overall health. These hours affect your body's internal clock and your nervous system. So today, hopefully Dr. Pula is going to help us develop a plan going forward. Can you please tell us about your observation of medical professionals working and living against the clock?
Yeah. So first off, let's just give them a round of applause. I mean, without our shift workers,
Yes.
we wouldn't be able to enjoy our day lives and stay healthy.
Yes.
So the choice or the need to work overnight, it varies from person to person, from family to family, and a lot of people find great reward and satisfaction. They'll never give up their night shift or their early morning shift.
Yes.
But, it does play a toll, like you said, Doreen, and, it does a lot. And I just wanted to, talk today about advocating for them and heightening that awareness of the little things that we can do, because a lot of attention goes to the daytime shift, but the little things that we can do geared especially for those people that find themselves in these shifts.
I love this because you are the first person that we've interviewed so far that is focusing on the night shift. And that's near and dear to my heart because my kids are in nursing and they have worked night shifts, and one is currently on night shifts. So this is real. This is real.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you believe are the top health challenges related to shift working?
Yeah. So there's the unwanted extra weight.
Mm,
It's very hard to maintain a healthy weight when you're working against that clock. And we also see a decline in brain health. And when I talk about brain health, I mean that fog or that lack of clarity or focus. And also, we find that the heart can be negatively affected. And when we're talking about cardiovascular disease, that does include high blood pressure, but
yes.
there's also a higher incidence of stroke in night shift workers.
Mm.
And unfortunately, for those that struggle with diabetes, this really can play a toll on how they manage their blood sugars. The list goes on and on, Doreen. And, GI issues, acid reflux. It's even gone so far as the World Health Organization has said that these lifestyle behaviors that are associated with shift workers are a potential carcinogen. So that's why we really want to draw the attention right now.
Wow. So we need to create more information and help for these people who are doing essential work at night while the rest of us are sleeping.
Yes, yes, yes. And the list goes on and on, but I think the big focus today is also around anything that zaps your energy. And if your energy is getting zapped, you're not likely to be in a good mood. And when we're talking about not being in a good mood, we're talking about mental health. And there's no stigma around that.
Yes, I love that. And I love also that you highlighted a concern that a lot of my clients come to me with. I do coaching for stress management, and a lot of my clients are talking about weight gain. And we all know
Yes.
that stress contributes to weight gain. And
Yeah.
now the stress of working a night shift just amplifies that. So
Yeah.
what are some things that people can do potentially to improve their mood? Just as you said, the mood is everything, right? So how can we improve our mood and knowing that there's no stigma, right?
Yeah.
There's no judgment here. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah. I think a lot of in the past, we've talked about emotional eating and
Yes.
triggers. That's a topic that's been covered, but we don't talk about it as the mood, how it relates to proper nutrition. We joke maybe in your family too, during about being hangry. Like if you
Yes.
get to a certain meal, if you haven't eaten by a certain time of the day, you're not your best version of yourself. So the goal here really is to tell shift workers it doesn't have to be this way. You can lose or address the weight if that is a concern. You can enhance your brain health. Fog is not something that you need to live with. And you can, all the chronic conditions, whether it's heart disease, diabetes, cancer, all these things, you can improve through proper nutrition.
Yeah. So I love what you said about being hangry. Because my husband's a physician and he has had nurses working with him, and you can tell that your mood gets a little edgy, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
one of the nurses who's been working with him for like 20 years now or 30 years said to him, Dr. Seela, do you need a cracker? And that's a common joke now in our house, right? He's hangry and he needs a cracker. Give daddy a cracker. That's
Yes,
our go-to. Daddy needs a cracker. So
yes.
hangry is a real thing. So what are the top two tips that any
Yeah.
shift worker can incorporate beginning today?
Yeah, so enjoy your waking hours whenever they are. If you're not looking at the sun, and you're awake, that doesn't mean that you don't take really good care of yourself. And that does start with drinking a lot of water, eating proper nutrition, which hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about, meditating, taking time to breathe, and just moving your body. That's like just take better care of yourself. That would be my top tip. The second tip would really kind of focus on that sleep, because along with proper nutrition, adequate rest and sleep is so important for your mood. And there's been a lot of literature about consecutive sleep, and I'm being realistic during because I have worked the night shift. My
Yes.
colleagues, my clinical team, like it is so serious that we really need to be mindful that not everybody can get 7 consecutive hours. But there are ways that you can maybe layer in a power nap,
Mhm.
whether it's on your day on or off. And also, there's a lot of research recently that suggests like you don't want to binge sleep either. On your days off, you don't want to sleep more than 10 hours in a row. And
Yeah.
that's what we do. We find that catch up, but that actually will decrease your moods and your mental health and lead to more fog. So the tip that I'm anchoring here is just make sure every day, whatever your day looks like, at least 7 hours somewhere here or there, and be consistent with that.
Okay. So we're trying to get consistent time of sleep.
Yeah.
Now, since you're a registered dietitian and
Mhm.
nutritionist, let's dive deeper into
Mm.
this nutritional aspect a little more. Can you talk about the your body's internal clock and give us some tips on this, if you would?
Yeah, first of all, you always want to consult with a licensed healthcare provider, whether it's your primary physician, your registered dietitian, a registered nurse, because everybody's body is different.
Mhm.
But I'm sure your audience, they've heard a lot about the restricted feeding, or another term is intermittent feeding. And so it's basically this notion that when we are asleep, if we're sleeping during the night, we have this overnight fasting, and it gives our bodies time to replenish, to rejuvenate. And the golden process is called autophagy, and we can talk for days about it. But it basically is an exfoliating of your inner linings, and it's giving your whole body this facelift. So the analogy I like to use is if you've ever redone a kitchen or remodeled a bathroom, maybe you put a little extra paint on some cabinets and it looks great. That's what happens when you get regular sleep and you let your body fast from eating. And then, but really the goal is to, your body can do a whole recabinetry. You can get a whole makeover, a whole brand new kitchen, a whole remodeled bathroom of your choice, if you just allow these blocks of time that relieve yourself from eating. So the goal is 12 hours. It's a 12-hour window. And we know that when we are working at night, this 12 hours doesn't look the same way it looks for our loved ones or other people. So you want to start eating around 5 or 6 in the evening, and then you stop eating about 5 or 6 in the morning. So I'm just going to pause there because I that takes something to digest. It's like that's the time frame that we're suggesting to eat.
Yeah. And so here's the problem I see with that realistically, right? These night shift workers, they get one lunch if they're lucky,
Oh yeah.
right? And it's
Bio breaks are
usually
real.
smack,
The need
smack
for them.
dab in the middle
Hmm.
of their life. They usually eat their dinner or breakfast before they go to work. And then when they come home from work after their 12-hour shift or 13-hour shift or 14-hour shift, putting in travel time and report giving and all of those things, they come home and they have dinner before they go to bed.
Hmm.
And then they shower, go right to bed. Like this is what I see happening for my family. And so stopping at 5 a.m. seems like it would be a difficult thing. Can you
It
talk
is.
about that?
Yeah. No, I'm so glad, you bring this up. And that's why 12 hours is the goal. You'll not to confuse, but when we talk about people who use restricted feeding or intermittent fasting, some people that are able to sleep during the day and are awake, sleep during the night and are awake during the day, they'll go up to 16 hours of fasting. We're not saying that. Where that would probably not be because it's such a burden already to the body to be up all night because it goes against the circadian rhythm. But
Yes.
if you want to replicate and get the benefits that people who get to sleep at night, all the things that their body benefits from that, it's really behooves us to really dig deep and dissect this. We can unpack this a little bit more during,
Mhm.
the 5, and for somebody else, it might be 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Maybe they want to enjoy a snack when their children come home, and
Yeah.
that's their family meal. And
Right.
then it stops at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Mhm.
I also see, and you could tell me your observation is that it kind of shifts too. Maybe instead of the dinner meal, they are starting to enjoy their breakfast. Looks more like a breakfast. Then after their shift, when they're coming back to the home to run their errands, it doesn't look like the normal breakfast meal. It looks more like a heavier dinner meal. That's also a preference.
Yes.
So, there are ways that you can enjoy the time with your family and create those bonds. And then also because there's not many breaks, let's be realistic in between. But we can talk a little bit more about maybe what those
Yeah.
snacks or
So
things look
what's
like.
immediately coming to my mind, and um, maybe you can talk about this a little bit. Two things. First of all, those cells in our brains are like sweepers, right? They're going through and they're sweeping everything, getting rid of all of the debris, picking
Mhm.
up the junk. It's like when you come home from work and you see things laying all over the place. They're going around picking things up and cleaning things up, right? That's the first thing. So we do need that sleep. But what happens when these people, like they work these 3 12-hour nights
Mhm.
and then they flip back to days for a normal life with their family? Like
Yeah,
it's a big thing.
it is.
It's a big,
It is. And that's why we do encourage people to reach out and work one-to-one, even if it's for a couple sessions with somebody who is a licensed healthcare provider that can help guide them. But
yes,
they're like, if we look at most people, we do have a rhythm, right? Most people who sleep during the day, they have a different eating plan on the weekend. We'll just use that as an
yeah.
example.
Okay, yeah.
There's a way to do that, um, for sure. But I think at the end of the day, the guidelines don't change though. You want to enjoy foods that are high in fiber, great sources of protein, unsaturated fat, stay away from high glycemic, unprocessed foods is what you're focusing on. You want to enjoy those. And, I think caffeine plays a role.
Yes.
Whether you sleep at night or during the day, limiting your caffeine. Don't get your energy from that. That's not where you're getting your energy from. So that's maybe 8 to 16 ounces of coffee or tea. And then a big one also is the use of sugar substitutes
Mhm.
and diet sodas and diet iced teas and all these things. Those things tend to zap your energy, and we don't even realize that.
Mm.
So yeah, I would
And
love to
so I'm
see.
I'm also thinking of alcohol as we talk
Oh,
about these
yes.
things, how alcohol really interferes with your sleep. And
Oh, yeah.
I know for me personally, I stopped drinking a couple of years ago because I was waking up every night at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I was mad at myself that I drank again and was waking up, but it was really the alcohol waking me up and not
Yes.
allowing me to get a full night's sleep. So I said, this is not helping me, right? This is just hurting me. So
Definitely disrupts. I'm so glad you brought that up, especially now as we reemerge from the pandemic and we find ourselves with lots of different behaviors that we might have adopted throughout that we didn't have. Um, you're absolutely correct that you might fall asleep faster. I know, maybe drinking a glass of wine helps you go to sleep, but it's going to absolutely disrupt your sleeping pattern. And again, that doesn't, there's no bias there, whether you sleep at night or sleep during the day.
right.
You're right. In a couple hours, you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel well rested.
Yes. I love that. And most people think, like we think that having that alcohol is going to calm us down and help us to sleep. But in fact, it does that for maybe an hour, but we're not getting ideal sleep. We're not getting that full rest where that
Mhm.
cleaning crew is doing its job in our brains and
Yeah.
clearing things out.
I'm so glad you brought that up too, because that's exactly what proper nutrition in a 12-hour window will do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not constantly feeding your body around the clock, it allows the body to rest and settle in, to really repair and rejuvenate. So you're less likely to wake up intermittently. And so when you wake up, you have more clear focus. You don't have that foggy brain. But this does take a while, right? It takes 2 to
Yes.
3 weeks. It's a commitment
Yes.
until your body gets used to it. But I haven't heard one person like the testimony you just shared that wasn't absolutely pleased that they made that change and will never look back.
Yeah. I will never look back. So let's get back to, because this conversation is flying, but I want to get back to this restricted feeding window
Yeah.
and talk about how many meals are you supposed to eat during this window?
Yeah, it's so funny how this, has changed over the decades of how many meals. But, I'm just going to speak specifically again to shift workers. And if we're talking about a 12-hour window, and we're also talking about the realistic restrictions of being at work and
Yeah.
those bio breaks, using them well. We know that insulin, which is a hormone that helps get the sugar from our blood into each cell, it's stimulated. Anytime we have any type of sugar or carbohydrate, which we need carbohydrates, we need naturally occurring sugars, but this will go on for 90 minutes. So the thought is that if you reduce that, you don't have this constant stream of insulin, it doesn't get hyperactive, and it actually slows it down, and it allows your body to absorb the nutrients better. And it also, what the magic part of this is, you don't eat as many calories.
Mm,
Studies suggest that if you narrow the window and you narrow the meals, so we're talking about 2 meals, no more than 3 meals,
mhm,
that actually helps with the unwanted fat storage,
mhm.
the overall calories,
Yes.
and then your moods. Again, your moods. So and going back to that, emotional triggers are real because we can't talk about food and mood and not talking about emotional triggers.
Yes.
So, again, everybody's um, meal plan might look different based on their preferences, allergies, sensitivities, intolerances, cultural preferences. So I really do encourage everybody to reach out to somebody to help them. with that.
Yeah, good. So you're talking 2 or 3 meals, but are there snacks in between or anything like that?
Well, what's a snack? I think the best go-to snack in my professional journey has been the trail mix.
Okay.
If you don't have an allergy to nuts, in
Mhm.
our household, we have somebody with a severe life-threatening allergy to nuts, so that's a no-go, you
Right,
know.
right.
Uh, but there's nothing like a pick-me-up, solid trail mix that you can make at home with some dried fruits and the favorite nuts of choice, and so that is a great mini snack. For somebody else that might be more of a meal because it is calorically dense. It's got the great quality protein, it's high in fat, the good fats that we need. um, so those would be like the snacks that I would encourage. But nonetheless, every meal and snack should have some source of protein. And again, that helps to slow the blood sugars down from just, coming at those cells and really firing away. The protein and the fat help to manage blood sugars. Whether or not you have diabetes, it is a great practice.
Awesome. Okay, so this is so good, and we could talk all day, but we're getting to the end of our time. So let me just throw this out here. I'm gonna see if you have any other tips or tricks about sleeping hygiene for workers, or last remarks on how we can manage this internal rhythm of our body.
Yeah, it takes time. If you are looking for good sleep, make sure you have some darkening shades or blinds. You can always wear some shades, wave blocking
Mhm.
shades. Put your electronic devices away. I know sometimes that's hard because,
Yeah,
especially for the parents, your kids are in school, you want to have access. You can give a number to a home line, a landline. We didn't know that they still had a purpose, but that's a great purpose for them.
yeah,
And if you stick with this again, after 2 to 3 weeks, you'll feel less hungry. But closing remarks, Doreen, I would just say two things.
yeah.
If you are a loved one of a shift worker,
Mhm.
just ask, how can I help you? Because they're
Yeah,
helping us, right? They're
yeah,
they're serving the community. They have this amazing um, job to do. We need to ask them, how can we help you? And if you're the shift worker, you have to be very specific about what you need. Maybe you need help with grocery shopping. Maybe you need help with laundry, whatever, house chores or other things. Find your and use your voice.
yes. Thank you so much.